Hey folks, this is Rob Wells with you from the Law Office of Robert M. Wells. Our office specializes in helping out landlords and property managers deal with their landlord-tenant situations and problems. In this video, we're going to talk about if you're subject to the Tenants Protection Act of 2019, what happens as a landlord? What can and what can't you do with regards to terminating a tenancy or increasing rent? Before I begin though, landlords, property managers, if you're dealing with a situation where you don't know if the Tenants Protection Act of 2019 applies to you or not, or you're dealing with just any type of landlord-tenant situation, please feel free to reach out to us below. Now, let me begin. Okay, so in the last couple of videos we did, we were talking about the Tenants Protection Act of 2019. We just talked about when the Tenants Protection Act applies to a landlord, and the question now is what happens? What can a landlord or property manager can and cannot do if they're subject to the Tenants Protection Act? Well, in general, basically, if a landlord is subject to the Tenants Protection Act, they are precluded from terminating their tenancy unless it's for one of many reasons listed in the Tenants Protection Act, or you will need what's called just cause. Just cause generally means the tenant has committed lease violation or has done something under the Tenants Protection Act which allows a landlord to terminate that tenancy. For example, non-payment of rent would be just cause, for example. There are also a few causes that are not the tenant's fault that a landlord may terminate a tenancy for, such as going out of the rental business, for example. We'll cover these causes and no fault causes, as they're called under the Tenants Protection Act, one by one in separate videos. So if you're subject to the Tenants Protection Act of 2019, you may be required to justify terminating your tenancy with just cause or no fault just cause, which must be listed in your termination notice. Also, if you're subject to the Tenants Protection Act of 2019, you are regulated under the statute about how and when you can raise your rent. And you can only raise your rent, generally speaking, in certain amounts per each year and by a certain percentage. And we'll do videos to explain that more in detail. So that's in a nutshell what you have to do if you're subject to the Tenants Protection Act. Again, if you have a question about whether or not you're subject to the Tenants Protection Act of 2019, or you have any other landlord-tenant situation or problem, please feel free to reach out to us below. Until next time, we'll talk to you then. Thanks.